Welcome to Part 2 of the Law of Christ. At the end of Part 1 I promised an example on how to rightly divide the word of truth. The teaching can be found in the supplement to Part 1, titled, A Very Important Question. I hope you listen to it, as it will be helpful in understanding what I am teaching. In the book of Acts, we learned that the law of Moses was a burden that no man could keep. Acts chapter 15 verse 10, referring to the law of Moses. Now therefore, why tempt God, to put a yoke on the neck of the disciples, which neither our fathers, nor we, were able to bear? Notice the word yoke, while it appears to be singular, it is referring to the many laws, called the law of Moses. Now listen to Jesus incorporate the same word in his teaching, referring to his own words, many of which contain commands. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, Jesus said, Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Verse 29, Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me. For I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. Verse 30, For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Notice, Jesus said, My yoke is easy, and my burden is light, after he said, Learn of me. A clear contrast with the law of Moses. Whether you are in the pulpit or in the pew, do not turn Christianity into a burden that no one, either yourself or others, can bear. Here is an example of Jesus giving a command, but it is not for everyone. Jesus commanded Peter to get out of the boat and walk on water, a command to Peter, yes. To be literally obeyed by others, no. But there are still lessons to be learned by this event. Peter obeyed Jesus and got out of the boat and walked on water. When the storm came, he stopped believing and began to sink. But Jesus saved him from drowning. This is a great example of what the Apostle Paul said of Jesus, If we are faithless, he remains faithful. In the book of Galatians, Paul used the word law for both the law of Moses and for the law of Christ. Even the Greek word for law is the same word in both cases. The law of Moses contains hundreds of commands and laws. So why, when it comes to the commands or commandments spoken by Jesus, do so many think or teach there is only one or maybe two? As you can tell, I strongly disagree with those who teach that the law of Christ is only one of his many commands. Much more on this later. Jesus in Matthew 7 warns of consequences for those who refuse to listen to his words and put them into practice. Let's listen carefully to what Jesus said. Verse 26, And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. Notice, Jesus said, sayings of mine. I think that's clear enough. Verse 27, And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house. And it fell, and great was the fall of it. Verse 28, And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine. Verse 29, For he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. I realize you have just been given a lot to think about. So, let's take a break, and continue this in Part 3. By the way, I have not forgotten my promise to quote Moses' words on this topic. It's coming. And it will be well worth the wait.